Hi, I'm Mark from L&M Small Engine. Today we're working on a Craftsman YT3000 riding lawnmower with a 46-inch deck and a 33 cubic inch engine. It's like a 19 horsepower. The story on this is last year it started smoking really bad in the middle of the summer. It was burning oil and they were putting it in and it locked up on them. They called me last fall and I quoted them how much the motor was and stuff. And they were going to decide if they wanted to put a new power plant on this one or buy a new lawnmower. And anyways, this spring they went along to the big box stores and they didn't like the way the new lawnmowers are made. They aren't built as good as these older ones are. So they decided to put a new power plant in this one. So we're gonna change motors in this lawnmower. So hope you enjoy the video. Okay, I'm gonna jack up a little bit so it's easier to unhook everything so I'm not bending down. Okay, we'll start over on this side here. We'll unhook the starter and wire plug-ins. The new motor don't have this little dipstick set up on it, so once we get the motor off, we'll put this, clean it up and put this on the new motor. It's a nice convenience, so don't make that big a mess when you change your oil and stuff. So the starter at the 7/16. You gotta be careful so it don't turn the inside nut and the outside nut in case you want to save the starter. But this motor here has lots of hours on it. Okay, now I'll unplug the wiring harness, and that's all we have to do on this side here. Now we'll go over to the other side. You need to unhook the throttle cable. Then we got this vent that goes to the gas tank. Unhook that. Then this is a gravity fed tank. So I just made this little thing here. It's fuel shut off for either the hole, you can cap off the nipple or the hose. That makes less mess. Okay, everything should be unhooked, so now we can go ahead and jack it up, take the pulley off that runs the belt and the transmission, and start taking the motor mount bolts out. I'm going to leave the exhaust header on. I'm going to leave this on the motor so when we put this motor on the bench, I'll just take it off this motor and put it on the new motor because it just slides in on top of the muffler. So don't need to worry about that header tube. We'll just do all that, exchange everything on the bench. Okay, before I get started, I'm gonna push in on the clutch and put the parking brake on. That will give that transmission belt some slack. Okay, now I'm gonna unhook this bar right here and let the deck down. And while you have it up in the air, inspect your blade spindle assemblies, make sure none of the ends are broke, and just check everything over while it's up in there. You might as well. Just lift up on the deck, pop it off, take the belt off. So now we need a 5/8. Take that pulley off. Sometimes these come off easy, sometimes they don't. And this is a stubborn one, so I'm going to spray some lubricant in there and let it sit for a little bit. Probably just a little piece of rust on the shaft or something. I will let that sit for about 5 minutes. So we'll come back to this. Okay, it's been about 5-6 minutes. This stuff usually works. There. It must have a little rust on it or something. See how kind of rusty it was in there? That stuff just works amazing. Now we can get to our bolts. There's 4 bolts on here. Let's see, we have to loosen up these 2 brackets, these belt hangers, whatever, belt guides, whatever, because at least this one here we do. Let's see what size them are. They're either 1/2 inch or 9/16. Or 9/16. Well, I'm gonna loosen up this hanger over here because the rod's in the way. 9/16 too. There we go. Another reason why I like keeping that exhaust header in the muffler too, so when we take these bolts out, the motor won't plop out. We're still gonna probably just hold it so it don't fall. So the motor stays in there. Okay, now we can go and lower it down. Lower it down so we can take that old motor out. I'm gonna take the clutch out so the tires roll back. Then we'll re-engage it. When we put the pulley back on. Okay, I'll go grab my gloves and just as simple as that. Okay, I'll grab the 2-wheeled cart, go put that on the bench and go grab the new motor so we can put that exhaust header on the new motor and the oil drain tube. I'm draining that oil out of the old motor and you can really smell a lot of gas in there, so I bet you that had something to do with it. Them Nicky carburetors they put on some of these, especially if you burn like ethanol or something. So that's probably the main culprit what caused it to go bad. This was made in 2013, so 11 years old. Should have had more life in it than that. So we'll go ahead and put this on the new motor. And we'll take that plug out of the new motor and put it in here for now. I'm going to put some new Teflon tape on this. There we go. And there we go. Let's go and take the header off. I'm going to kind of keep it kind of loose for now. When we get it set in the muffler, we might have to move the motor around to line up the bolts. So to keep it loose for now, but when we get the motor bolted down, I'll go ahead and snug that up. And one other thing we're going to go ahead and put oil in this right now because you don't want to put this on your motor and you start talking to somebody or phone call, you get kind of mixed up. If you just turn it over a couple times the oil in it, it's pretty much ruined. So this thing here, we're going to put 1.5 quarts of straight YT30 motor oil in it. On a brand new motor, you don't use synthetic. Use regular oil, and once it breaks in, then you can go and use synthetic. But if you put synthetic in there now, the motor, the piston and the rings and the cylinder are not going to mesh together. So on brand new motors, just use YT30. And this bad boy here takes 1.5 quarts. Okay, get that sitting like that. Now we'll jack it up a little bit and get a bolt or two started before we jack it up all the way. I'll probably be far enough till I get a bolt or two started. I'll slide the motor forward a little bit, so I'll grab a pry bar. Well, I can find the hole. Jack it up a little bit higher. Can't fit my big fat hand. Okay. I'm not going to put on it tight. I'm just going to get it started. There we go. All right, and I'll be able to see what we're doing now. I have to use a pry bar on this other side here. All right. Now we got to tighten up this. There. Now before I put the pulley on and everything, check all your idler pulleys, and we got one that's stuck. Like these spin, and that one don't move. So we're gonna go ahead and replace that. Might as well do it now while you have us all apart. So I'm gonna pop that off and go find the idler pulley for that. Okay, I put a new idler pulley on there. Push the clutch to put the parking brake on, so we have some slack on that belt. Okay, now I'm gonna take the brake off. And we're gonna double check everything. Everything looks good. Put that rod back in. Pop our clip back in. Now we can go and lower it down and hook up everything up on top. I think while I have it in the air, I'm just going to go ahead and grease everything here real quick. Grease the front spindles and the front axles. I'm going to do that real quick and we'll hook everything up. Okay, now we're going to hook up the throttle and fuel line on this side. I'm not going to tighten it all the way. I'm just going to tighten it so the cable don't fall out of there. Then we'll adjust it here. So you want to go all the way up to choke. Let's tighten it. Okay. Now let's do the fuel line. This motor has a fuel pump on it. The original motor didn't. So we'll unhook it here where this little itsy bitsy fuel filter was. And just like that. Okay, this side is done. Better hook up our vent tube. Almost forgot that. There we go. And just kind of look around, make sure everything's hooked up right and everything. Now we can go ahead and go to the other side here. So we'll hook up our starter wire. I'm going to straighten that. There we go. Nut there that we took off the old starter. And we already put the oil in the motor. If you didn't put the motor oil in yet, before you hook up the starter or plug in this plug-in, make sure you put oil in there in case, in case there's a short in the wiring system and also starts turning over. You don't want to ruin that new motor. And before I plug this in, I'm going to take the air hose and make sure the connections are nice and clean. That's a brand new one there. They only go on one way until it clamps into place. There, everything's all hooked up. All we gotta do now is lower down, put the hood on, and let's fire this bad boy up. Oh, we better tighten up these header bolts. We left them loose so we can let it swivel in the muffler. There we go. I'll hook up the lights. And just double check your dipstick. And when it runs for a little bit, you want to shut it off and check it again because that gives it time for the oil filter to fill up. So let's put the parking brake back on. Put her on choke. Well, there you go. That's practically a brand new lawnmower again because the rest of the lawnmower looks good. So anyways, I appreciate you watching the video. If you like the video, please press the like button and please subscribe. Anyways, you have a good afternoon. Bye.